Welcome to the Sheckler Spotlight, where creativity meets purpose and conversation goes deeper. Join host Harrison Sheckler as he sits down with inspiring guests from all walks of life, artists, thinkers, musicians, and everyday heroes, to explore the stories that shape us, uplift us, and connect us. Now here's your host, Harrison Sheckler.
Hi, I'm your host, Harrison Sheckler, and today the spotlight is on a legendary character actor, comedian, director, and storyteller whose face you've definitely seen on your screen. From Friends to Seinfeld, Breaking Bad, Billy Madison, and Escape from Alcatraz, his resume is a masterclass in unforgettable roles. He's an Oscar-nominated filmmaker, the author of That Guy, a cautionary memoir, and one of the most prolific and beloved That Guy actors in television and film history. He's made us laugh, made us think, and has always brought something truly unique to every role. Larry Hankin, the spotlight is now on you. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God. I can't follow that. But thank you. Hi, everybody.
It is such a pleasure to have the chance to visit with you today, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion. To start out, I always like to go to the beginning. Like, I would like to learn, what was your origin? What's your origin story? How did you get on this path of acting? And, what kind of kid were you growing up?
Well, first of all, I'm a Martian, so you got to understand that. The second thing you got to understand is I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
I've had it since I was a kid. I guess I was born with it. So I've learned some workarounds, but a lot of times I will misunderstand a situation, or I mean it's not. I don't think it'll happen. It's never happened during interviews. I mean, but. It's in a learning situation, it becomes problematic. If you were going to teach me how to be an interviewer, we would have to do it 2 or 3 times before I really understand. Dyslexia is a very interesting problem because it's different than a lot of people. Mine is. It goes in, and then I need like 24 hours to have it put in the right order when it comes out. So it's confusing to me to get a lot of information. This is the real backstory of my life, is because of this dyslexia. It hovers around everything I do. But if it's something intense, an intense learning situation, I have a little difficulty. The funny part of it is I misinterpret a lot of body language and speech habits. I'll either misinterpret or not understand, but generally I misinterpret. I go, oh, you didn't mean that, you meant this. Oh, okay. So I generally it takes 24 hours and then I'm okay. In other words, if you taught me something now, tomorrow I would understand it.
Interesting. It's delayed.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because the disconnect, the time lag, I have to get used to it. Oh, I had to get used to it. I'm totally used to it now. Or I just say, yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow about it.
So you're saying you early on you were dealing with dyslexia and figuring out how that was going to play a role in your life. So you knew early. Was it early on? Like how?
No,
early
I didn't
on?
discover it until I was like 35 or.
Oh, later on.
Yeah. So in other words, it really got in the way because I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I thought I did. Until I started to, there's something wrong. I keep on misinterpreting. And then, when I was born, there was no such thing as dyslexia. It wasn't invented yet.
Invented, yeah.
I mean, no doctor understood that part of it. It was just part of a mental disorder, but it was very general. They didn't know what it was really or where it came from, in your head or so there was no talk about it going to school. Oh man, the arguments I would have in school. Holy cow, about okay, I mean, remember this. I was probably in seventh grade or sixth grade, something like that. They were teaching me in the science part of the day when they were teaching me science, us, the class. So it turns out, now in reality, if you touch different things, they feel different. In other words, if you touch steel and then you touch wood and you ask which one is warmer,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult because wood at, say, 80 degrees and steel at 80 degrees feel totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really tell which one is warmer because your finger is not getting the right reading. Now, maybe if you don't have dyslexia, it's not as sharp a difference
Mm-hmm.
like this one and this one. But I would argue, like the teacher was trying to teach us that different textures, different substances feel different under different temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying to, and I wouldn't believe him. I said, look, I'm touching this steel, I'm touching my laptop. So whatever it is, titanium or steel or metal, it's
Mm-hmm.
metal. Touching this metal, and now I'm touching this wood. Well, the wood feels colder than this does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm touching wood, I'm touching metal. So I would say, well, look, I'm touching metal and it's this temperature, and I'm touching wood and it's colder. So that's bullshit. I didn't say that. I was in the
You were
seventh
thinking it,
grade
right?
or sixth, but I was thinking something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would And then he would punish me by making me stand out in the hall until this part of the lesson was over. Because you're just too argumentative. I said, well, you're telling us wrong stuff. I told him. So it was things like that where I couldn't make the connection that, well, yeah, because they're made of different materials, they absorb heat in different ways and give it off in different. So there was a lot of that going on in public school and in high school. So my uh, connection to that, and we're talking about my backstory,
Mm-hmm.
my origin story. Now, one of the and my parents didn't know. So I was confused at home too. They had no idea. Because like I say, nobody knew about dyslexia. It wasn't on any doctor's, list of
Right.
things wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
So and also to add confusion to that, my home was very uncreative,
Mm.
my household. Uh, no no movies, nobody read, no books, but they had books. So I kind of escaped into the books. They would buy my parents would buy collections, like the great books of history or of literature, great books of literature, like 15 books, or the entire Encyclopedia Britannicas. They would buy these sets.
Mm-hmm.
So if guests, their friends came over, they were impressed. Oh, well, they're well read. No, but I was, like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11. I read all these things because that was the only thing around. There was no input. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't taken anywhere. They didn't go to museums. They didn't go to movies, or we didn't go to movies together. So there was no input of creativity. It was
Hmm.
missing. Uh, so when I went to college, like I misunderstood that. And now you're like, 16, 17, 18. I don't know when you graduate high school.
I think 18, 18. Yeah.
Yeah, about 18. Well, I mean, you're coming into adulthood here, and you still don't know why I'm not getting a lot
Hmm.
of stuff. So when it came time to go to college, they wanted me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college. I was through with learning.
Yeah.
It's like trying to stuff 5 pounds of tomatoes into a 2-pound bag. It's it's not working. This is
No.
pushing out. So I wanted to go to an art school. I mean, if I had to go to college or if I had to go to school after high school, I want to go to an art school. I was into art. I mean, I would doodle and draw all over the place. That
Mm.
was my, outlet. So I looked at Syracuse University and they had an industrial design department.
Mm.
Industrial design department. That's how I heard it. Industrial design.
I think I know where this might be going.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, well, I want to go to Syracuse University. I want to be an industrial designer because I thought that's art, design. It didn't even register the industrial part.
Hmm.
But the industrial part is the major part of industrial design.
Yeah.
The design part comes later. The calculus and the math is first.
Yeah, no
Industrial.
thanks.
So, but I didn't know that until I got there into the class.
Oh
In other
boy.
words, for the whole time, I lived in Far Rockaway, Long Island, and Syracuse is way upstate, so I'm out of town. And that's what I wanted.
Hmm.
That was the whole thing, to get out of the house. Because
Mm.
there wasn't any, I knew other kids had different inputs. I couldn't figure it out. So I went to Syracuse in the industrial design department. And then they started, with the calculus and the engineering. I mean, they say, okay, design a car. Oh, okay, great. You do 4 wheels and a place where you sit, and here's where the engine goes. There's your car. No, no, Larry. You got to know how a car is put together so that this juts out and that goes under here.
Hmm.
You have to know the mechanics at least, if not the math of it. And that just was a killer. Uh, so I became very depressed at my choice. Well, Larry, you wanted to go to industrial design school, so we sent you there. Um, so it was but I graduated thankfully, and I don't know how. Because all that doodling I did when I was a kid paid off
Mm.
because the art part I really excelled at. I mean, the math was here, but the art I was better than most of the kids in the class in college. So I came out with like an A- average, which was pretty
Mm.
cool.
That's great.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I had to work for it and I suffered for it, even though I didn't know what I was suffering about. I still hadn't registered. Uh, so college was, you know, I had a girlfriend, and we broke up because I'm not a good long-term companion.
Mm.
The dyslexia just gets in the way. I've had like one or two steady girlfriends over the years, but it always ended the same way. There was just it wasn't a meeting. It wasn't a meeting of the minds.
Mm. Sure.
It wasn't working out. So that's kind of the. But once I got into there was one good thing about college. I used to hang out, and I didn't know why, but it seemed interesting, at the drama department of Syracuse University. That's where my friends were
Mm.
because I understood everything because they were in the same situation I was, even without dyslexia. In other words, they were into art and performing and memorization of, and that's also a hard thing for me, memorization. Again, get it in, but then it takes a while, a couple of days to get it out straight. Uh, I became a performer in my spare time. That's how and I met a guy there named Carl Gottlieb. It's a familiar name from the, do you know who Carl Gottlieb is?
I've heard the name, but
You've heard the name.
yeah.
He wrote Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
That's his
Yep.
main claim to fame. But he wrote other hit movies and stuff like that. He worked with Richie Pryor on his first movie. And so he wanted to be a writer, but he wanted to write plays and screenplays, and he was a performer too. So we became fast friends because we kind of understood one another, and he didn't give me any bullshit or back talk about,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, I meant this. Why are you doing that? No, we never had that. And we stuck up for each other. I mean, I joined a fraternity. See, like, here's the upside for me of dyslexia was when I joined the fraternity, one of the lower, weirder fraternities, not the not the white guys fraternity.
Ah, I see.
It's just a regular, normal guys fraternity, not big, not little. It's okay. And but once I got some friends who didn't make fun of my mix-ups.
Mm-hmm.
I got along really well with them. I mean, they were my friends, my fraternity brothers. And the smaller kid. So I was elected vice president, which was
Oh,
kind of an honor.
yeah.
But I was in charge of Hell Week, the plebes, the new
Oh, I
freshmen.
see. Yeah.
I was in charge of them, and I could order them around and make me a cup of coffee or make us, do this or make my bed or whatever. I could order them around. That was their dues. So then they said, okay, well, for pledge night, the pledges, for pledge night, you're in charge, so you have to run pledge night. Now, this is where the stupidity of fraternities is rampant. Pledge night. So you have them do all kinds of stupid things, rub your face with this, or take
The
your
hazing.
clothes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hazing. I wasn't for that, but I was the vice president, and these are all my friends, the president and the rest of the fraternity. So I was trying to figure out, I'm not into this stuff, hazing I, and I didn't realize that when I accepted being the vice president, that I was in charge of Hell Night.
Mm,
And it's like, 12 hours of just stupidity on a grand scale.
yeah.
And so I had to make up something. I didn't know what to do. So I made up this great idea of mine. And this was it. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them on a march at midnight. I'm going to take, there was like about 10, I guess, 8 or 10 pledges. I said, I'm going to take them on a march. I'm going to take them uh, going to march them down to Marshall Street. Marshall Street was the hangout street where
Mm.
the coffee house, the coffee was, where the diner was. Marshall Street, where all the, okay. And then that's where, you waitered, you made your extra money and stuff. So he said, I'm going to take them down to Marshall Street. And then it'll be about 1 o'clock by then. And Marshall Street is dead at this time of night. I mean, there's nobody around. I said, I'm going to have them take off their clothes, give their clothes to me, and I'm going to come back to the fraternity, and they have to get back within an hour.
Oh my
Cool,
goodness.
right? Dyslexia. Yeah. Getting even. Stupidity.
That's
At
pretty
its
stupid, but
peak.
pretty funny.
Yeah. So the fraternity loved it. They said, "Oh, great, that's so cool." So at midnight, I got them all in the pledge room or whatever, and I said, "Okay, we're going on a march, so let's go." So we marched down just a couple of blocks. We never got to Marshall Street. So I just stopped on the sidewalk with these 8 kids, these plebes, these pledges. And I said, okay, here's what I told the fraternity I'm going to make you do. I said, I told them that I'm going to march you down to Marshall Street, make you take your clothes off, and you have to get back to the fraternity within an hour, or you don't get in the fraternity.
Right.
And they go, oh, no, oh, fuck, man. Oh, no. I said, but, what? But I don't want to do that. That's stupid. So I'm going back to the fraternity right now from here. I'm leaving you guys. Now, anybody want to walk back with me? Fine. If not, you do whatever you want. I'm going back to the fraternity. Goodbye. And I just left. I left them there. And, about 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later, an hour and a half later, they all wandered back, and the fraternity said, they got their clothes on. And I go, yeah, I'm not into this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, well, you're the vice president. You said you were going to get their clothes off. Yeah, I know, but I decided not to. And so they fired me. You're not the vice president anymore. I said, great. That's a load off my mind. Thank you. So they fired me. So, I mean, that's my origin story, but dyslexia is there all the time. Now, once I found out, I started to suspect when I was in my 30s, because then dyslexia was starting to become a thing. And so I started to work on it on my own. I studied it, and there's workarounds and ways. And then I said, yeah, well, I'll just not ask questions until 24 hours later. That's all. I'll listen to the thing, and then I'll take notes, and then tomorrow it'll, settle in the right order.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll write the report or whatever. So that basically took care of that. But I always, wanted to be an artist or a performer. Now, Carl Gottlieb, that's the hookup, who I met in Syracuse. He got me, and he was in the drama department. So when we graduated, I got into a big fight. Again, dyslexia, man. Now, one of the things about dyslexia is not only do I not understand what you said, but if I think I understand what you said, not that I did understand, but I think in other words, I jump to a conclusion. I make an assumption.
Oh, sure.
I make an assumption. Oh, I understood perfectly what you said. I started to think, well, maybe sometimes I do. I started to stop beating myself up about my not understanding. I thought, well, look, I kind of understand some things right away. So that means that I got a 50-50 chance of maybe being right. 50, sometimes. So I started to go with that, and it seemed to work. And using that at least formula, I could come to some conclusions about, well, I know that's true and I know that's not. So probably what he's talking about is this. And generally, I was right by making assumptions based on other things that I could depend on.
Sure.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so the only thing, and so Carl, I said, what are you going to do when you graduate? Because it is now graduation was coming. My parents wanted to come up, and I said, man, I don't want to go through graduation. I was becoming anti-establishment or anti-normal.
Mm-hmm.
I was going with the dyslexia. I
Mm-hmm.
was starting to hang out with junkies and drunks
Oh
and
boy.
anybody who didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, thinking, oh, these are my people. But one of the things was that they were all artists, basically. In other words, those were my people.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I understood, these are my people. I got less guff from these people. Okay, so when he said, I'm going to Greenwich Village and I'm going to become a writer and I'm become a reporter, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going because I got an A minus average at school. So in other words, once I get it, I get it. It's just getting there to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once I get it, I'm fine, you know. Uh, so I got an A minus average because I worked on it. Oh, and also I had help. My roommate, basically through I think 2 to 3 years, my roommate was always the same guy. We were roommates, and it was just a glitch. And every year they had a machine
Mm-hmm.
or something, that coupled people, and they said if you are with the same person you were with last year, report that. We have to know that you shouldn't be always with the same roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So we never reported it.
You liked each other.
Well, yeah, well, no, here's the thing. We both had the same courses.
Oh, there you
So
go.
we would do the homework together and the reports together. So that's why I was getting A's. There's two people working on one project
That could
always.
be a big help. Yeah.
Oh man, are you kidding? We
Yeah.
both got A minuses and B pluses only. We were always at the head of the class and we wouldn't cop to it. The reason was we were comparing, his desk was there and my desk was here. What'd you get on number 5? Oh, okay. Uh, so that really helped.
Mm-hmm.
And it erased all the mistakes of me being in class. When
Mm-hmm.
we worked on the stuff and we handed in papers, always cool. And then when he got to Greenwich Village, he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm going to, because I got high marks. I've been hired, and I was sent for by Ford.
Oh.
Ford came to this school, Syracuse, and said, we want to interview your top industrial design. Those are the people who design the cars, industrial designers. Uh, we want to talk to your top students to get them to come to Detroit and
Mm-hmm.
work for us. So um, I was sent. They flew me there. And then I saw seven other people. Um, they were from other colleges. In other words, they went to 8 or 10 colleges and said, send us your best 2 students or 1 student. So that's who I was there with. The best students from all the colleges, 8 people, 8
Wow.
colleges. So yeah, I mean that was like an honor to be with these people, and they were really Ford was recruiting. They wanted us even before we were introduced. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted the top students in the best schools. So I was there, and I was kind of bored. So then I picked up something. They took us to a tour of, well, you'll be working here. Whoops. you'll be working here. This is where all the other industrial designers are. This is where they design the cars. They took us to the engineering part. And they gave us a tour of everything.
Hmm.
And I was not impressed. So as we going through where I wasn't, I really, oh man, I was looking for like a Hollywood production of, cars, and it was just a shop,
Hmm.
you know, okay. So going through, and on each desk, now this is like on a Saturday, so there was nobody there, working. So on each was a plaster of Paris model of a car that person had designed and had built small.
Mm.
So on each desk there was a different kind of small white plaster of Paris car that this person had designed. And they left it on the desk. So I picked up one and I'm looking and I wasn't impressed. I thought, man, this is like in 5 years, this is what's going to be. No, this is stupid, man. And I wasn't, so I picked up one and I'm looking at it, and I'm judging it with all my power. I'm making a judgment. This is bullshit. And I see the tour guide, who is actually one of the designers, who said, take the guys around on Saturday. He comes over and he says, "Oh, you like that, huh?" And I go, "No, I don't. I think it's crap, really." I mean, I don't think I said crap. I was trying to be polite,
Hmm.
but dyslexia has other things in mind. So I said, "Well, no, not really. I don't think it's very good. I mean, for the future, no, it doesn't cut it." And he says, "Really?" And he got like really insulted, which I don't blame him. I
Hmm.
could have been looking at his. I mean, this is where they work, and he's one of them. So he got insulted, even if it wasn't his, for the guy. And he says, "Oh, really? Okay. All right." But I saw he made a mental note. This guy's trouble. So I went back in, they go around, and then um, we go to this beautiful, like, restaurant. But it's where the employees of Ford eat. It's an on-site place to eat, but it's
Mm.
beautiful. It's
Hmm.
really cool. That was designed very well.
Ah.
And I said, "Oh man, this is where we eat? This is cool." And I was also trying to get him to, like me a little from looking at the car.
Yeah.
So I was, trying to schmooze him. So I said, "Wow, this is," but I was impressed, actually. So I go, "Wow, man, we eat here." And he said, "Oh, no, no, you don't eat here." I go, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, this is the executive restaurant."
Mm.
I said, "Can I, if I work here, can I eat here?" "No, you eat in the cafeteria, and that's in another section." I said, "I can't eat here if I work here. This is for the executives." "Yeah." "Well, then why are you showing this to me?
Yeah.
If I
Really.
can't eat here, why are you showing this to me?" And I got really argument because this is bullshit. I mean,
Hmm.
then I think I said that. I said, "This is ridiculous. You're showing me stuff that I can't even use. I mean, are you trying to impress me, or are you trying to not impress me?" And I got into an, really just, what the guy was like, "Fine, thank you. Thank you. All right. I'll show you the cafeteria." All right, we're going to cafeteria now. So he just had nothing more to do with me for the rest of the tour and stuff like that. Okay, when I got back to Syracuse, the first question the professor said was, "Why don't they want you back there again?" They said, "Don't send Larry Hankin." "Why?" I said, "Because I was arguing with them." "Why were you arguing with them? They were going to offer you a very high-paying job." But it was like stupid. It was like I didn't get it. I don't. And then I just shut my mouth. because I saw that either I didn't understand the situation or I'm making the situation worse. Let me assume that I'm making the situation worse, that I really do understand what's going on. So I just shut up. And I went back to Carl and I said, well, okay, I'm not going to be an industrial designer. Just from that one tour. I said, I'm not going to be an industrial designer. What are you doing? He said, I'm going to Greenwich Village. I'm going to be an actor. And I said, I'm going with you. You want a roommate? I go, yeah. He says, yeah. I said, okay, we're going to be roommates in Greenwich Village. Let's go. So that's what we did. Okay, this is the last thing. I mean, I'm going on. Is this too
No, I
long?
love it. This is great. This is great. Yeah.
So on graduation day, we all went to the Orange Bar and Grill. That's where all the students, hung out, had a beer and talked. So we were all down there, and my parents called before I went. So in the morning, my parents called and they said, we're driving up. They lived on Long Island. We're driving up to see the graduation. I said, don't come. I'm not going. What do you mean you're not going? I'm not going. It's just, it's hot. It's in, summer or fall. It's hot. We got to wear these black robes. I got to listen to stupid speeches. And then I got to throw my hat or this mitre up in the air. And then I lose it. And I'm sweating and I'm in a black thing. Why should I go? Are they going to give me money? Are they going to make me a better person? No. It's going to be, it's too hot. Don't come. I'm not going. So you can see I'm a nice guy and you like me, but I can be, pretty feisty when if things go south. So they said, we're coming. You better go to the graduation. I said, I'm not. It's it's hot. No, I'm not going. Don't come. And they said, we're coming. Click. I said, okay. So I just stayed at the bar. I just stayed there. And you see the bar emptying as all the students are going to the graduation ceremonies. I just stayed at the bar. And I had a girlfriend there at Syracuse. And I'll say her name was was Jane.
Okay. We'll go with Jane.
We'll go with Jane. So Jane, now, I really liked her a lot. Now, I wanted her to be my girlfriend. But she had a boyfriend, A.
That's
and
one
B,
problem.
yeah, so that's a problem right there. And then B is I really thought she was way too good for me. She was way out of my league. She was beautiful. She was friendly and smart, and she was, everything that you want. And I'm thinking, but we had like 3 classes together. So sometimes I would walk her to the next class, so we would hang out during the day, during the student part of the day, hang out with her. So on this particular night, graduation, everybody splits. And I see people leaving. And then I see Jane leave. And I didn't know. There's a back room with its booths and dancing. So there's a big floor in the back room. We were in the front in the bar. I was in the front in the bar. And so I see Jane leave and she's crying. I go, wow, man, that's really weird. But she, just went past and out. And I said, well, okay, I don't know what went on back there. But, and I just blah, blah, blah on the bar. And then I see her real boyfriend come out from the back. And he walks in and he walked past me. Now, the thing about her real boyfriend was his name was like Dirk or something like that. Something that lifts weights and plays football. And so Dirk, he was a lacrosse player.
Oh,
Which is,
okay.
is anything tougher than a football player, it's a lacrosse player. They don't wear pads.
No.
And they use sticks. And the only thing that they got covered to protect is their hands. So their hands are not hit by the wood. If your head is hit by the wood, too bad, man.
And I think today they wear helmets now, finally.
Oh, finally.
Yeah.
But then, no. So Dirk comes out and he goes down there. So I thought, well, I'm friendly. So I go over to him. I mean, I've seen him around. He kind of knows me, but I mean, we're not friends or anything. I don't hang out with him. I go over to him and I say, hey, Dirk, could I ask you a question? He goes, oh yeah. What? And he's not friendly. He's not unfriendly, but I didn't expect that kind of, yeah, what? I said, I just saw Jane leave and she was crying. What was that all about? And he said, oh, that. Yeah. I hit her.
Oh, wow.
You what? I hit her. You hit her? Yeah. Why? Because she's hanging out with you. You fucked her, didn't you? All of a sudden, the bar just went quiet. I said, what? He said, don't give me that. What? You fucked her, didn't you? No, what are you talking about? I mean, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I was just walking her to class. That was it. I said, no, I didn't. He said, yes, you did. No, I didn't. Okay, wait a minute. I said to him, this is exactly what happened. I said, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. I want to understand this. Back there, you were with her back there, and you accused her of sleeping with me, and that's why you hit her? Yeah. But I didn't hit her. Yes, you did. I mean, I didn't fuck her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you did. I said, okay, stop. All right, I want to get this exactly straight because I don't want to make any mistake. You admit that, and I was saying this just in real time. I wasn't thinking ahead 2 steps, like at the end of this little speech, I'm going to walk out or hit him or whatever. I was just trying to stall for time to think of what I should do next. So I was talking slow and deliberate, trying to think of, where is this going, Larry? Where are you going with this? And so, you hit her. Is that true? And he goes, exactly. For sleeping with you. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. And that's as far as I got. Because I swear, and to this day, and I've told this story over and over, it's true. All I felt was this. All I felt was that. If you did that, that's what I felt. But what I did was, and I had no conscious effort on my part. I wasn't thinking about this at all. My fist just went bam, right into the center of his nose, as hard as I could, as hard as I could. But it wasn't me. I'm telling you, I had no conscious thought about it. It just was an automatic jerk, not even a reflex. It was even deeper than that. I just went bam, and it was so fast that I hardly even saw my fist go by my face. It was just automatic. It's a bam, and it was a perfect shot. I mean, I saw it hit his nose, and he just went flying back into the shuffleboard machine. Boom. And it tilt, 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 tilt. And the guy plays, hey, man, I was winning. God damn it. And he's talking to Dirk, and everybody says, yay, yay, nice going, Larry, yay, yay. And his friend, and he comes and he comes roaring back, and his friends get in between. His friends got in between me and him and pushed him back and said, no, 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 not, no, no, you can't. And then the bartender, who was the owner, bartender says, no fighting in here, no fighting. And I'm thinking, wow, that's cool, great. Because he could beat me up. He's a lacrosse player. And he said, no fighting in here. And I go, phew, thank fucking God. And he says, if they want to fight, shove them outside. No, 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 no. I was so for you. I was with, and that's what the crowd did. The crowd got behind and pushed both of us. They grabbed us, two different crowds, and they shoved us outside. And there was this big picture window with a little table, a little shelf with bar stools. So everybody rushed to the front window, and we're standing out there, and it's starting to rain, a little drizzle, starting to drizzle. And we're standing there, and he says, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like, I can't outrun him. I'm just standing here, and he's just not doing anything. He's very relaxed.
Mm.
He's saying, "You sucker punched me. Nice. You sucker punched me." I said, "No, I didn't. I didn't even know where that came from. I wasn't thinking of hitting you. I'm sorry that I hit you. I don't know where that came from." He goes, "Well, I'm gonna have to hit you back. You know that, don't you?" I said, "No, no, you don't have to hit me back." He said, "I'm gonna count to three. And when I count to three, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you, and I'm gonna knock you down. I'm gonna kick you. I'm gonna go back into the bar, have a beer, come back, and I'm gonna piss on your body. You got that?" I go, "No, no, you don't. I'll give you till three to try to sucker punch me again. I'm going to stand here." And that's what he did. He stood here like this, and he goes, "Okay, sucker punch me again. Go ahead." And I'm thinking, I don't know where that punch came from in there. I mean, I don't know how to do that again. I mean, it was so fast. I don't know. He said, and he goes like, one. And I'm thinking, I can't do that. I don't know where that punch came from. Two, you better try to punch me, because at three, I'm going to kill you and piss on you. You got it? Two. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to be killed, I might as well try. And I went, and it was really slow. And I saw a hand come up in slow motion and push it away. And then I saw this fist come. Boom. It's all in slow motion. And he wailed. And we started to fight. But I'm not a fighter, I'm trying to, and, I got in, and he knocks me down. Now it's starting to rain. It's pouring rain. And he's just knocking, and then he knocks me down. I fall down, and he gets on top of me, and he puts his knee on, he gets on my chest, sits on my chest, knee on my here and here. And he looks down into my face, and he goes, I know, he said this little speech, and he's leaning down into me. His face is about that far away, about that. And he's, you try to, and if you do, don't ever, he's giving one of those injured boyfriend speeches. And what he's going to do to me next. He's going to give me a list. Sorry, I don't have pencil. I'll take notes. But he's that far away. Now, luckily for me, I had a cold. So I went, oh, that's his nose. So I went, and I spit phlegm right into his face.
Oh boy.
Right in a big glob, right into his, no. And just as he's about to wail on me now, I mean, he just went nuts, man. You fucking, and this hand comes from behind him and grabs his fist. And then two hands grab him and lift him up like this, from behind, like that. Spins him around. And I had a good friend who was an ex-Marine uh, in one of the classes who was in the
Hmm.
bar. And he was watching this. And he's a friend of mine. Well, he didn't want to stop the fight,
Hmm.
but now he's a Marine. I mean, and he was in war. I mean, he killed people, one of those Marines.
Oh yeah.
And he goes and he spins him around and he says, "It's over." That's all he said. And the guy says, "Okay." I
Wow.
mean, the way he said it's over, I'll never forget because it had all the speech of, "I'm going to kill you and piss on you." I mean, that's what was in "It's over." And the guy just, Dirk, understood it completely. It's over. And he goes, "Okay." And uh, the Marine, George was his name, George, just let him go. And Dirk just walked away. He
Huh.
had a friend of his was standing over there, walked away, and they both walked away. And then George looked at me. I stood up by then. And he said, "No, no, I was sitting on the curb." I remember I couldn't stand up. I was sitting on the curb while he's doing this. I was watching him like this, listening. And he says, are you okay, Larry?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want anything?" "No." "Do you need anything?" "No." "Okay." And he just walked back into the bar. I sat there for about 20 minutes staring at a telephone pole. People would come by and, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just leave me alone." Uh, about 20 minutes later, it stopped raining. It was getting lighter and lighter, and then it stopped raining. And I see Dirk and his friend coming back, and Dirk had changed his clothes. And he says, "Oh, you're still here. Well, I'm going to finish the job. That other guy isn't around, is he?" "No, he isn't." And I said, "Do what you want. I don't have anything left in the tank. So if you're going to beat me up, you're going to have to do it with me sitting down. Uh, but have at me." Uh, so his friend heard this and said, "Hey, man, let's just leave him alone. Let's get out of here because the cops are going to come." And he said, "Okay." And so they walked away. Okay. So that was my graduation day.
That's
My
crazy.
parents came and were sitting in the stadium.
Well, they did come.
Yeah, because I called them later that night to say,
Hmm.
did we know what happened? You didn't come, did you? And they said, "Yes, we did." And they were really mad. Well, I mean, my mother was. My father was so mad he couldn't speak. So I talked to my mother. "Yes, we were there, and you weren't. We were very disappointed. We paid for your education." I mean, they just guilt, 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 guilt.
Hmm.
They're shoveling it in. And I said, "Okay, fine. All right, fine." Uh, I didn't say I was on the phone. I didn't say, I'll be home in a couple of days. I got to wait I'm getting a ride." I didn't have a ride. So I think I rode with I don't know how I got home. I think I rode with somebody. No, no, I hitchhiked. I hitchhiked all the way uh, battered and bruised. I mean, I had my arm in a sling,
Hmm.
and my face was all punched up, you know, fucking. And my arm was in a sling, and it was raining, and I had this wool blanket. What, you know how heavy wool gets when it gets wet?
Oh,
I
yeah, it's
mean, it
super heavy.
totally absorbs everything. It absorbs more than its weight in water. So I have this in the rain. This, I mean, it was just ridiculous. Okay, so that's how I got into show business. I went into and I saw comedians, and that's how I started in show business.
That's wow. That's quite the story. Well, you must have really liked the girl though, to have that
Oh
reaction
yeah,
to,
man. Yeah, she
to
was wonderful. She was,
yeah.
and she was a good friend.
Hmm.
In other words, she was everything that I had, thought about. If I had a girlfriend, it would be her, Jane. Jane.
Jane. Yep. Yep. We're going
Jane.
with Jane.
We're going
Well,
with
that's
Jane.
I think that's quite an awesome origin story, and it really sets the scene of, some of the struggles that you had to go through, and then thinking that you're going on one, life path, and then all of a sudden it's like a 180. It's like, no, I'm going into, film and television.
Now,
So,
here's one thing I got about what you're just saying.
hmm
The upshot of it all. Now, so that was when I was like 18 or 19,
hmm
what I just told you. Okay, I'm a lot older than that now. Okay? But one of the things I remember and thought about a lot when I was 18 and in that area was who did I respect as an adult? Because I didn't respect my parents. They didn't really give me anything. I always thought I was an orphan. That was my headspace. I'm an orphan, but these people are raising me. Okay. Uh, so um, my grandfather, I really loved my grandfather. He was a great grandfather. He was a great guy and grandfather. But one of the reasons I respect him because I didn't know it at the time, but he was managing an apartment house. He was a superintendent of an apartment house somewhere in Brooklyn.
hmm
And he had a lot of keys because he was a janitor and he had a key. Okay. And he was really smart. It turns out, I found out after he passed away, that he had a really high IQ. He was a genius. He also died a millionaire, so I
Wow.
figure it worked. But he had a lot of keys when I was a kid, you know, 5 to 11 or 12. And I thought it's the keys that count. The more keys you have, the smarter and greater you are. That was my dyslexic formulation of the assumption. He had a lot of keys. He was a smart guy. He was a cool guy. So anybody with a lot of keys. So I thought when I got into show business, I thought, well, when I get really old, like my grandfather, and I'm really smart and everything, I'll be a really good actor. What would I be acting as? And I thought, Don Quixote. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be Don Quixote. And I say I'd act Don Quixote. In other words, that was a role I wanted to play when I was old enough. Now, you were just saying, how I got through all that. I was 18 and all this mishegas and craziness and anger and not understanding and all that warped and fed whatever I am now. I just finished a screenplay that's called The Outlaw Emmett Demas.
hmm
It is an update, a modernization of the Don Quixote story. It's Don Quixote on a motorcycle, basically. Is if Don Quixote, instead of Rocinante, he had an Indian motorcycle. Indian motorcycles are
Oh, that's
really
cool.
cool, man.
Yeah.
With a sidecar. So Sancho would be in the sidecar,
Oh, yeah.
and that I got a friend who was maybe still is the clown gagmeister for Cirque du Soleil. He was
Wow.
he was only about 35 when I shot a little video
Hmm.
about 3, 4 years ago. Um, but so he came up with some really great Miguel Cervantes humor. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
ironic, real, something that's has irony in it, but is real. It's not like circus or TV
Yeah.
sitcom.
Hmm.
It's just like real funny stuff. Uh, Richie Pryor kind of humor, real. And he came up with a couple of that, just doozies with that only he could do. Because one was he got bumped, he jumped out of the motorcycle while it was going. And then you don't see him for a while. And then when you see me coming around a corner to go into an alley, you see there's nobody in the sidecar. What happened? What happened to Willie is his name. What
Hmm.
happened to Willie? As he comes around, there's nobody in the sidecar. And as he's coming towards the camera, because the camera's in the alley, as he's coming towards we see Willie running after him, after the motorcycle, running, and he lost the map. The map flew out of his hand, so he jumped out to get it. And so he's been chasing. So the image is the assumption is he's been chasing it. Okay, so now he's coming in, and we photograph him running alongside, catches up to the motorcycle, and he jumps into the motorcycle, and I didn't stop. It just, and like I didn't even notice, and he just jumped in, and he does a lot of those physical things.
Yeah.
You don't, when you're writing, you don't think physical. Well, he
Hmm.
runs and I couldn't think of that because I said nobody could do that. Running alongside the motorcycle and he jumps in, but he did, and he did a lot of that stuff. So the connection is that when I was 18 and going through all that stuff, I thought about when I get old, I want to be like act Don Quixote. And all of a sudden, I see, oh my God, I just finished the thing. And then I thought back, wow, through all that bullshit that I just laid on you, it still remained. That thought was there when I was 30, when I was 40. In other words, I retained it through 50, all the way until this age. And then, without thinking about it. In other words, I didn't think about it until I started writing the screenplay, which is just a couple of years ago. So, in other words, I went through, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and my 50s. My subconscious retained it. I thought that was a really amazing piece of memory that I didn't even bother with. So, just on a psychological level, psychiatrists, when they teach it to go back, I mean, I can understand why something happened that you don't remember, but is feeding your behavior now from a really deep place. And it's a really funny, I sent it to a couple of festival judging contests, and I got rave reviews, I got good, hey, this is really cool. I couldn't put it down, one of those kind of things. So that's amazing. I mean, it's like that punch. I had
Yeah.
nothing to do with that punch. And to this day, I still don't know. Now, the only thing I can think of was once I went to uh, I don't know, he was like a masseuse, but it was a special during the 60s
Hmm.
when all that, Baba Ramdas stuff was
Yeah.
going on,
Hmm.
you know? So, and he would kind of spoke in those terms. So I was just curious, and I was making money enough to afford to go to him once. I just went to him once. And what he does is you know, gives you a massage, but he also connects what you do, what your body does unconsciously.
Mm.
So he said, I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, how do you feel about your father? And I said, I don't know. I mean, we got along, but we weren't I don't think it was, we didn't have a father-son relationship of a quality factor. He was just my dad. You know, I mean, he wasn't a great dad. No, he wasn't a great dad. He says, okay. So I was laying on a table. So stretched out like this on a massage table. So I can,
Sure.
he goes like this. He says, okay, I want you to think about your mom. You like your mom? Yeah, yeah, my mom was really cool. Okay. All right, I want you to, I want you to raise your hand like this. So, raise your hand like that. That's all. Okay? But I want you to think about your mom the whole time.
Hmm.
But resist. Resist. Okay? No, 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 no. I'm going to hold your arm down. You try to raise it up while you're thinking about your mom. Okay? You go, yeah, yeah. Okay. Go. So I got about this. No, I mean, he's not used. So he's trying to hold me back. I'm thinking
Hmm.
about my mom and trying to raise my hand. I got it to about here, about there. Okay? He says, all right, fine. Okay, now, same thing. I'm going to hold you down. Try to raise your hand. Think about your dad. Okay? Or whole time. Okay. Go. I can't raise my hand. Your body
Interesting.
does that all the time,
It's just like
everywhere.
holding all that tension and over the years and every. Oh, that's interesting. That's really
He
interesting.
did it with my leg. He did it with me raising up. He said, think about different things.
Hmm.
And each different thing. And then he would say, okay, now think about your mom, or think about Jane, or
Hmm.
think about something good, think about something bad. And it affected my strength.
That's
But
fascinating.
yeah, man, it blew my mind. I never went back to him because I was afraid of what he might find.
You're like, no, one and done. That was a little
I
spooky.
don't. I know enough. I know enough. Thank you. But
What?
I've always remembered that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, how formulative our early years are and just
Boy,
making us, a person, and it sticks with us through life. Like you said, that you've come full circle with the Don Quixote, creative endeavor. And
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and so I mean, for me, I'm 29 years old, and who knows by the time, I'm, late in my
Well, now,
life.
now, I got to explain something.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold true forever because if you, like, my father's passed away,
Hmm.
both my parents have passed away now, but when they were alive, had I had enough belief in myself to apologize to my dad or make friends with my dad or not leave it up to my dad to make friends with me, but to take charge of my life and go to my dad and say, look, I used to not like you, but let's be friends, blah, blah, blah. In other words, you can cure the strength thing.
Hmm.
But I never resolved when I went to this guy. I had never resolved any conflict with my dad. I mean, over the years now, I mean, just getting older and knowing more people and knowing more about myself, I have forgiven my dad. And, and if he was alive, I'd be friends with him because it behooves me. It's better for me to like my dad as opposed to not like my dad. So I
Yeah.
understand that. And that affects, oh, okay. And like he did open up one strength test. In other words, he asked me to think about something and I couldn't raise my hand. And then he said, okay, now I want you to forgive, or I want you to blah, blah, blah. So he worked with me for about, a minute or two to resolve whatever. And then he said, let's try it again. And then I could raise my hand a little more. So just that little talk helped me out. So yeah, yeah, but me remembering, because it just blew my mind yesterday that I was working on the Don Quixote screenplay, and then suddenly I remember, holy cow, I thought about this when I was like, 15, and here I
Yeah.
am, but I haven't thought about it in between,
No.
or I would have started writing the screenplay a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But
I
what
think.
the thought was, oh, I was looking in the mirror and I thought, wow, I'm an elder now. I finally admitted that, oh, I've gotten older.
Hmm.
And once I came to that conclusion and admitted it to myself, I am older. There's a difference between old and older.
Hmm.
Older is cool. Old is, you fall a lot.
That can be one aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but another, and they're the same age. I am the same age as a lot of people who I think you're near the grave. You're that close, but we're the same age,
Hmm.
and so it's really weird. Uh, yeah, it's I've done it with friends. Like for instance, I have a friend that I've been fighting with for a long time. I mean, not fighting with, but just disagreeing with
Hmm.
on a
Hmm.
whole bunch of topics. And I thought, why am I doing that? It's just because he doesn't agree with me, and I'm trying to convince him that I'm right. So
Hmm.
therefore, he should agree with me. And once I dropped that bullshit, I think I grew 2 inches taller, and no, we're really good friends now.
Hmm. It's
But it was,
you have a lot of good life lessons, and you have to realize that some of all these things that we just hold on to, I mean, life's too short. You just kind of have to. I mean, it's hard in the moment, to let go, but it just, I think our opinions and our relationships, they evolve in a way, and it's like it's a learning
yeah,
process.
and but it's like a lot of people go, no, don't fight, love one another. And
Yeah,
you think, oh, come on, man. But actually, that's true.
it is.
I mean, but it's just so sappy.
It is so sappy, but
But
we keep
that I
coming to
can't
it.
go near it.
Yeah.
You fight because of how it sounds.
Hmm.
It's just, come on, man. Like for instance, taking the pledge's clothes and making them walk back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so, come on, man. So, and then but the fraternity just, no, what did you do, man? Oh, man, you ruined, come on. So, but when I try to realize when I'm a little off center.
So I'm interested to hear how does that play, like, with your extensive acting career, this wonderful career you've had, has that created some, I guess, learning opportunities, or some have you had some struggles with like the dyslexia during the acting process?
Yeah, yeah, always. I
Hmm.
mean, it's there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
you're
think
always
there's
having to
any
deal with
cure
it.
for it, but you work around it. You learn how to adjust. Um, no, there's another thing. In other words, yeah, I was born with dyslexia, but I
Hmm.
was also born with a lot of other things that helped me. Like, for instance, I, the phrase "monkey see, monkey do."
Right.
I was born with that. Like, I'll tell you where I discovered it. Well, I discovered it along the way, but it never really set where I thought, okay, I can bank that.
Hmm.
Uh, when I did Kramer on
On Seinfeld.
Seinfeld,
Hmm.
that wasn't acting at all. Now, I acted with Bryan Cranston, who said, "Man, when you did Kramer, that was incredible." Now, I watched Bryan Cranston. We're friends.
Hmm.
I like him because he's a great actor.
Oh, he's fabulous. Yeah.
But I watched him one time recently do an in one. He did a speech of a famous person, like I don't know, the president of Uruguay, or yeah, or I don't know, some famous person gave a speech, like
Hmm.
George Washington
Sure. Hmm.
gave a speech. Bryan Cranston gave that speech, but acted like George Washington. But it wasn't George Washington. It was an obscure person, but it was a real person, and Bryan Cranston did that person,
Hmm.
acted and gave that speech. I watched that speech, and when he walked out, he wasn't introduced. The curtain opened up, and he was just standing there, Bryan Cranston. And I said, "Oh, that's Bryan Cranston." And then he went into the speech, and I had just turned to the channel, so I didn't know what the setup was. I
Hmm.
just was going by, and curtain opened up. Oh, Bryan Cranston, what is he going to do? And he started to do this speech. I said, "Oh, it's a speech. He's giving a speech of somebody else." I mean, you could tell, ladies and gentlemen, I blah, blah, blah. So it was a speech, and I saw he wasn't being Bryan Cranston. He was being somebody else. I said, "Oh, he's acting. Wow." And then I couldn't find Bryan Cranston. It was just this guy giving this speech. And I go, "Holy cow." And it was a long speech, about 3, 4 minutes. And then about 2.5 minutes in, I thought, well, maybe it's not Brian. Maybe I was wrong. Yeah. I thought maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it looked like Brian, but it's not. And then he came to the end of the speech, curtains closed. They said, "Thank you, Bryan Cranston." People, I go, "Holy cow." And I thought, no, I had done Kramer years before, but I connected the two. I
Hmm.
said, that's what I did with Kramer. But what I did with Kramer, in other words, you couldn't tell it was Hankin, it was
Hmm.
Kramer.
Hmm.
But what I was doing was they gave me Seinfeld production company, gave me the scene that Kramer did that they wrote into the sitcom that I was playing,
Okay.
the
Hmm.
Kramer part. So, in other words, they sent me the actual scene they did a couple of months ago where Kramer did the speech that I did, like
Hmm.
Brian did. But I didn't, had nothing to do with acting. I've never taken an acting lesson in my life. I've done improv, but I just did improv. I was with Second City and then the committee up in San Francisco.
So would you say it just came pretty natural?
So that's what I'm saying. My acting is really not acting at all. It's just I become.
That's
I'm
interesting.
I'm like a
A chameleon?
carbon a what?
Are you a chameleon? You can just,
I'm a chameleon.
yeah.
I just copy because they sent me the scene, and I must have watched that scene. They gave me a videotape. I must have watched that scene 50, 60 times. All I
Well, you,
did, that was my act, that was my acting performance. That was my backstory. That was my rehearsal. I just
hmm
sat there and watched and tried to imitate every fucking move, everything. I
we,
imitate what I picture in my mind.
hmm
I pictured Kramer and I would just imitate Kramer. Now, that's not good acting, but it works.
Well, it worked great in that, that episode with a pilot within a pilot, um, you became Kramer. It was
Yeah, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. And then when I watch it, I go, "Holy cow, man! That's Kramer. That's
Yeah.
Michael." Now I know Michael.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Hmm.
I haven't seen him in a long time, but we used to audition together because we were both tall and kind of looked alike. So we'd audition for the same parts. We would meet, and after a while, we just got to know one another. And
Hmm.
then he recommended me to imitate him. Michael
Oh,
Richards
I
said, "Oh, if
see.
you're going to get somebody to act me, get Hankin.
Hmm.
So I know him, he knows me. It's a shoe."
Connections. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So all my acting is done that way, really. Some I make a backstory to know what was on going through my mind right before I enter.
So for like Mr. Heckles, one
Yeah.
of your famous characters, like what was the approach for Mr. Heckles?
My grandfather, the one with the keys. That's my
Ah,
grandfather. He's the janitor.
yeah.
Mr. Heckles is uh, I imagined him as being in charge. He Mr. Heckles has OCD.
Hmm.
I mean, he just everything has to be, he's a complainer. He's a complainer. But I never, I don't, I just said, oh, this is Grandpa. This is my grandpa.
And so you could just
So
kind
I,
of imitate that and
so I just imitated my grandpa. It's imitation.
interesting.
It's chameleon.
Hmm.
That's my grandfather. That's what he was. But he was a millionaire too, so I never figured that one out.
Yeah, well, if you figure that one out, you let me know, okay?
Yeah, okay. I'll let me know too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've done so many different character roles, and character roles you have to lose yourself and kind of be that chameleon.
Yeah.
What would you say, like looking back and everything you've done, and you're still acting, what has been your favorite role, and then two, with what what is the future? What does 2025 have for Larry Hankin? What's coming up? And what's a role that you would just love, still love? I know you did the Don Quixote, screenplay, and you have that, but like, what do you want in your career looking
Don
forward?
Quixote. I have nothing to do with Hollywood or feature films
Hmm.
now, or even when I was in Hollywood and doing feature films. I
Hmm.
never wanted to be an actor, never thought about it.
Hmm.
I wanted to be an artist
Hmm.
or possibly a stand-up comedian. Now, I was a stand-up comedian for years, for 2 years. And I was opening for Woody Allen and Miles Davis,
Hmm.
and I did the Playboy clubs, and I
Hmm.
was doing fine. But I got bored with it. See, that's the other thing about dyslexia. Um, it's it has the outward appearance of giving off OCD.
Hmm.
I can concentrate like laser focus. That's what you need to be an actor.
Hmm.
So I can laser focus and get a picture, or you can laser focus and do what actors do, what they learned in school.
Hmm.
But you have to be able to focus.
Right, right.
That's really important.
Hmm.
But dyslexia gets bored really quickly.
Hmm.
That's why it gets jumbled. I don't focus enough to assemble it once it gets in there. I have to let it rest and then get interested again overnight. If I sleep to sleep on it, and I tell people that I got to sleep on it.
Hmm.
I'll tell you tomorrow. And then it just comes together and boom, and I go, oh, right, I see.
Hmm.
So, and sometimes being an actor and doing the actor thing, there's not enough time. So I have to just try to imitate.
Yeah.
I just, now I've done a lot of work and I guess it works for me, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else because that's my workaround for dyslexia. Now, I find that in my old as I get older,
Mm-hmm.
the dyslexia is getting a little harder to manage.
Is it? Mm.
Now, the first clue I had was about a month ago. I wanted to do one of my old stand-up acts. I would tell stories,
Mm-hmm.
and also like Richie Pryor and George Carlin, stuff like that. Um, and I was watching some other comedians at the Crow, which is a mini semi-hemi-demi nightclub coffee house
Mm-hmm.
in the area. And I just hang out there and they know me and they know I'm an actor. So I said, hey, let me try something. I'd like to try one of my old bits that I did maybe 25, 30 years ago. And it's a long thing. It's like 20 minutes,
Oh yeah.
20-minute story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But in other words, I wrote a funny story. It had nothing to do with me or anything. Just like a fable.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time there was. But it's a modern fable and it's 20 minutes long. And I watched a couple of screenplays from back in the day when they filmed me doing it. And I saw, wow, man, that's really cool. And what I didn't realize was the reason it was so cool was it was all on the tip of my tongue. It was all talking as easy as I talk to you right now. It
Mm-hmm.
just flowed. You know, once upon a time there was a guy and he did this and he did that and blah, blah, blah. And he changed and he had blah and he died and he lived and he blah. So I said, hey, I want to try that because I'm getting bored and I want to do something. And I used to be a stand-up and I used to enjoy it and it's easy. I don't have to, memorize anything. I'll just do the old stuff.
Yeah.
So I got up on the stage and it was like I was starting all over again from Greenwich Village days. I mean, I just struggled. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
rehearsed for about a week, in my living room, but it was just really tough. I got through it, but I said, well, that's the dyslexia. That, in other words, uh, it didn't do any good to sleep on it and do it the next day. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So I need a month or more now to do what I could do in a week or a day when I was 18, 19, 20, or even 30. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was still doing it when I was 30, doing the nightclub stuff. When I had, like a month off,
Mm-hmm.
I would just go to a nightclub and say, hey, after the last show, can I just do a couple of minutes? And they knew me and they go, yeah, yeah, sure. And it would work. They're like, cool. But I hadn't done it in 5 years this last time when I did it.
Mm.
And I thought, wow, man, it's not there. It's not in the front of my head. I'm having to dig for the next episode, the next line, the next. And I thought, so uh, time is not on my side.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to do this Emmett next year or the year after. I don't think I have more than 2 years before it'll take me too long to memorize the screenplay. However, I'm also writing it as a half hour road comedy for
Oh, you
TV.
are. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm breaking it up. That's what I'm doing now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
breaking the screenplay up into episodics like chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to change things because it's not a screenplay, one
Sure.
continuous thing. So it has to beginning, middle, and end, beginning, middle, and end, beginning, middle, and end, beginning, middle, and end. You know, uh, and I want to have them traveling. I don't know if you know, I think everybody knows the story, but nobody
Oh,
really knows the story.
I
Have
read
you
it back
read?
in high school. Yep.
Yeah, that's when I read it, but I've been reading it since then, and that was in one of the book collections my parents got. They got uh, Miguel Cervantes book.
Mm-hmm.
So I read it, and I said, so So when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, reading Don Quixote at that age, I was in hysterics for the whole book. I mean, that's a funny
Oh, it's
freaking
great.
book,
It's
man.
so good.
Yeah, and I started to read, these books on how to read, blah blah blah, or how to, instructions on the breakdown of Gone with the Wind or this or that. So I read those kind of books about Don Quixote, and nobody said how funny it was. They all went into the deeper meanings of what's bullshit, man. He just wrote a funny freaking
Yeah,
novel about this
exactly.
old guy who thinks he's going to save the world, and he's a
Hmm.
fuck up.
Yep, yep.
I mean, that is so cool. And then, like there's two things that I remember about the specifically. One was because Sancho Panza was told by neighbors to go with Don Quixote. He wasn't invited. They said, take care of him. He's crazy and he's going to get in trouble. So that's why Sancho Panza went with him. He felt obligated to take care of this guy because his townspeople said, you got to do this or he'll die out there alone. You got to do. So he felt obligated. So I said, well, my Don Quixote is a little more responsible. Now, he's a fuck up, but he does it on purpose, and sometimes he doesn't make a mistake. No, this is what I meant to do. It's
Hmm.
just I fucked up.
Hmm.
So Sancho Panza doesn't have to be responsible. He does take care of he's my backup, but he's just looking for a ride. He's a
Mm,
hitchhiker.
sure. Right. Right.
And there's that point I wanted to make about it was, um, oh yeah, he's a pickpocket was the only twist I made. Sancho Panza was just a poor uh, farmer's helper.
Hmm.
Yeah, he had the property next to Don Quixote. Don Quixote was his
Hmm.
real name, and he changed it when he became, you know, tender of the world or something like that, cop of the world. Uh, uh, so yeah, yeah. Um, I made, slight, and you have to because that was like the 15th century, 16th century. I mean, so I made like a certain adjustments, but yeah, I mean, Don Quixote was just crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, he would have been put away today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just, I mean, it's just, but oh yeah. So their relationship was this, and that's what I also loved about it, which you couldn't do today. Don Quixote hears a giant. He hears a giant coming.
Hmm.
They're standing next to a small river, you
Hmm.
know, maybe about 20, 30 feet wide, something like that. And he hears plop, 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 plop. And he says to Sancho, the giant is coming. Stand behind me. He's got his lance, which is this piece of wood, this long piece of wood. He's got this lance. He's got, I will take care of you. I'll protect us both, and I will kill him. Plop, plop. And Sancho said, I don't think that's a giant. Doesn't sound like a giant. It just sounds like, I don't know, plop, plop, plop. And he says, no, he's walking in the river. He's trying to sneak up on us. That's what he's trying to do. So he says, no, and then Sancho says, no, I'm telling you, it's not a giant. It's something to do with the water, but it's not a giant. He says, no, it's a giant. And then Sancho starts to say, you're a fool. This is the first time in the book Sancho got mad enough to call him what he is. He
Hmm.
says, no, you're being stupid and no, you got to stop doing this. And Don Quixote says, all right, you just stay behind me. I'm going to attack him. Oh my God. No, don't do it. So, but Sancho has unloaded for the first time on Don Quixote.
Hmm.
So they're going down the river. Now they're in the river. So it's only up to their like waist or a little lower. So they can walk in it. And they're trying to sneak up on him. Dun, 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 dun. And as they get around the bend, they see it's a water mill. The plop is, the cups scoop up water, come around the mill, and they plop, the water falls in. That's what the plop, 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 plop. And it's turning the wheel as the river goes by.
Hmm.
So Sancho says, see, I told you it's not, God, I don't know why and he was venting. And this is the old days in the 16th century. Don Quixote takes his lance and just whacks him across the head. Don't you ever tell me I'm a dimwit or stupid. I mean, I thought that is so cool. Finally, Don Quixote, did something sane. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, a little over the top because
Hmm.
he's crazy, but he finally like just hauls off and whacks, Sancho for sassing him, for
Hmm.
back talking, sass talk. And I thought, oh man, he is kind of sane. I mean, he
Hmm.
does hear something.
Right,
It,
right.
it does get through. I thought that was really cool. And that Sancho gets, oh, I see. Sancho is a punching bag for this guy. And then through the rest of it, yeah, he does treat Sancho. I guess in the 16th century, that's how you treated your servants.
Mm.
You just whacked them. But so yeah, so I changed a little of the other stuff, but um,
Well, hopefully we
yeah.
get to we get to see it come to fruition.
Well, in a year or two, I'm about to take it out and sell it now.
Are you?
Well,
Okay.
you asked me the whole beginning of this was what's the future like? Well,
Yeah.
what's next?
Hmm.
So what's next is either the feature or the road. I hate to call it a sitcom because it's much realer than that.
Maybe an
Uh,
episodic, would you say?
um, well, no, it's just the way they film it is I'm
Hmm.
trying to think of something I guess the only thing I can think of, I'm trying to think of how to explain it to the investors is, are you familiar with Route 66? It was an old black and white movie when I was a kid.
I haven't seen that film, no.
Well, it's the same. I think the guy got it from Cervantes.
Mm.
It's a road comedy. Two
Hmm.
guys, two college graduates, kind of young men, handsome young guys, actors, get into a Corvette. So it's young guys, saleable, good looking,
Yep.
Corvette, good modern TV, a small car that'll saleable on TV, Corvette, cool car. Uh, Going across the United States, they're going from Hollywood to New York.
Mm.
Okay. And along the way is the episodic. They have an adventure with a girl here, with a broken car, a stuck car here, a robber here. Boom, 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 boom. And will they get to New York or not? And that's really Don Quixote. Will he get to uh, the big celebration in Granada or Madrid? He's going to in my thing. He's going to Sturgis, the
Nice.
biker rally, the biker.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, it was the equivalent of a knights and round table to the jousting and all that stuff in Madrid. That's where. So uh, Route 66 is the same thing. They're going to the big time from, man, we don't like, this too laid back in Hollywood. They're going, and things happen along the way.
Hmm.
And Don Quixote and Sancho, things happen along the way. And my thing is the outlaw Emmett Demus, things happen along the way. So, yeah, but in the um, what is it? The sitcom,
Hmm.
it was all real. Sometimes it was funny. The best it was a dramedy, really.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes it was funny, but it was real, and it was going across country, and it was episodic, and each thing was an adventure. And that's really what my screenplay is. But what they're trying to do is go through, instead of town for town for town for town, if there's one biker like um, the Hells Angels.
Hmm.
If you wanted to go from San Francisco to New York, and you were a Hells Angel, and somebody escaped from you, say,
Hmm.
escaped from you, and they were heading to New York, you could chase them like that, or you could call your, what do you call it? Your, I'm running out of words now.
You're okay.
The gangs along the way.
Hmm.
They have like these covens, I guess. I don't know what you call different clubs,
Sure. Hmm.
Hells Angels clubs in each city. So what you could do is, if you knew this, say, hey, they're going to pass through Cleveland. Stop that guy. So, in other words, this one person is being chased, but he's being chased by different bikers instead of one biker chasing him. When he gets to Cleveland, they're chasing by this gang. When he gets to Buffalo, he's chased by this gang. So that's my thing. In other words, he's got to go through this gauntlet
Hmm.
of Hell's Angel, whatever, Hell's Jokers, whatever you want to call them. He's got to go through this gauntlet of biker who are against him. He's got to get through it, and that's the challenge uh, of my Don Quixote and of Don Quixote's. In Don Quixote's, he goes through a challenge of things that happen along the way.
Hmm.
He saves somebody, or sometimes he just falls asleep and dreams about the adventure. But
Yep.
to him, the adventure was real. And sometimes he has to, like this one time, okay, this one time he, what was it? He goes, well, what does he do? He fights. Oh yeah, there's a
Hmm.
chain gang working a road, just like today, and they're all chained together, and there's guards there, 16th century guards, and Don Quixote is against chain gangs, against prison. So he says to the guard, there's two guards for this chain gang, and he says to the guards, let these people go. He says, no, they're prisoners, and they're fixing the road. No, you can't. Chaining people is not right. Let them go. No. Okay, if you don't let them go, bad things are going to happen to you. We can't let them go. So Don Quixote just takes his lance and whacks, knocks the
Hmm.
first guy out. I mean, and they're not expecting it. This is an old doddering guy that they think. So they're not like on their guard. And he goes boom, and the other guard runs away,
Hmm.
thinking, I'm not going to fight this guy. It's not worth it. So Don Quixote takes the key, and the first guard, before he gets knocked out, says, he says, just give me the key, I'll unlock them. You're blameless. He says, no, you can't. He says, why not? He says, because if I unlock them, they're going to beat me up. But if you unlock them, they're going to beat you up. I mean, it's not. I mean, not only is it not right and illegal, it's going to be very bad for us two guards and you and your friend over there. These are bad people. He says, no, they're not. And he
Hmm.
says, are you bad people? No, we're not. Please save us. You're our guy. Thank you. You see, they're not going to touch me. Give me the key. So then he says, no, I won't. Knocks him out, takes the key. The other guy runs away. He unlocks him, and they beat the shit out of him. And I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
as a 15-year-old, that was so funny. I mean, that he didn't know he's going to be beat up.
Well, it's
You
such
know,
a classic for a reason. I mean, that's why it's still being read and still being enjoyed today. I mean, people love it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and I think people love it because of the irony and the funniness and
Exactly.
all these books that break it down to why it's a great book. They don't talk about the humor at all, except in passing. Like, yes, there's humorous parts,
Hmm.
but it's not why he wrote it.
Right.
I don't care
Right.
why the fuck he wrote it. It's a funny book, and you should say that.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, like even with music. Like sometimes, because that's my background is music, you
Yeah,
know. Some people overanalyze things and it's just, it's just to entertain sometimes. You just gotta sit back and enjoy it for what it is. And when you get too like nitty-gritty and and try to really tear it apart, you
yeah.
kind of lose the art, you know? It's just something
Oh,
very
yeah,
enjoyable. Yeah. Yeah. And I
yeah.
think it's the same way with Don Quixote and all these great classics.
Yeah, and just a lot of stuff. In other words, every once in a while, now sometimes I'm caught off guard, and somebody explain, no, it's funny, and I go, oh, right, yeah. No, 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 I mean, it's either the dyslexic, or I'm just not into it, or it just went over my head,
Sure,
or
yeah.
yeah, and somebody goes, and I go, oh, right, yeah. Um, Especially if you're reading something, because on the page, if you see something and it's funny, like for instance, I'll read a screenplay and I saw the movie.
Hmm.
The movie is really funny, and I'll read the screenplay, and I wouldn't have gotten it had I not seen
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
just
it had to be
or
brought
the
to life. Yeah.
yeah, or the other way around, where I'll be reading the screenplay. And say, oh man, is this going to be funny?
Hmm.
And then they shoot it wrong or something.
Yeah,
They
that
don't
that
shoot
that
it
happens all the
right.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, there's one shot. I make my own little films,
Hmm.
and I'm just learning. And sometimes I'll just write a screenplay, a little film short, and I'll hire, a young actor, a young director.
Hmm.
And so he won't charge me a lot. He'll do it for free. And then I'll watch the film when it's edited. And there's certain things that I wrote that are fun, that are supposed to be funny. But the way he filmed it is so much funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's one shot where in one of my one of my film shorts, where I was watching it the other day. I did it about 5 or 6 years ago, so I'd
Hmm.
forgotten it. And I came to this one shot where um, I go, uh, well, forget. Oh yeah, I'm trying to explain. It's a pitch film.
Hmm.
It's for the industry to
Sure.
sell a screenplay.
Hmm.
So it's a 2-minute thing of why they should give me the money. So and I have little clips of films I did to show I'm an actor and I've written this. So there's one thing where I go in Billy Madison, I do that laugh, ha 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 ha,
Hmm.
and I won't do that for anybody. They all ask me, do that laugh, and I go no, because I told Adam, I said, Adam asked me to do it. He said, I hear. He said, Adam said, I hear that you do this really funny laugh. And I go, oh no, yeah, no, no, I don't even know where you got that from. No, that was in high school. I used to entertain people during lunch hour in the cafeteria, and I would do this funny laugh sometimes.
Hmm.
And they, Adam Sandler said to me, "No, that laugh, yeah." I said, "The one in high school?" He goes, "Yeah, that, do that in the movie when we're up next." I said, "No, I won't do that. That's stupid." He said, "No, no, you got to do it." It is at lunch. We're at lunch.
Yeah.
Me and Sandler. He called me over. I'm eating at another table. Larry, come here. Sit down. And he's with, the producer and another person and, his gang. And he goes, sit down. I want to talk to you. What? You know that laugh you did when you were in high school? Oh man, no. What do you want? I want you to do it in the next scene. No, man, I'm not, no, no. And we're arguing there. And all of that, then the other people are just watching. And, I don't care if it's Adam Sandler and it's his movie, and
Hmm.
he can make any movie in Hollywood he wants at this time. He's king shit in Hollywood. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. And I had just come from, Second City improv. I said, no, man, I'm not going to do that. And they're watching, saying, how does this guy, this actor, talk to Adam Sandler like he's talking to him? I'm just talking to Adam like he's talking to me. You
Yeah.
know, come on, Larry, do it. No, I don't want to do it. No, it's stupid. I'm not going to do it. Just do it for me now here. No, come on, Larry, just do it for these people here. Yeah, they're sitting here watching us argue. Just do it for me. So I said, okay, if I do it for you, we just let me go back to eating my lunch and we're not doing it anymore, okay? And that's the end of it, right? He goes, yes, okay. All right, I'm going to do it for you. Okay. And I go, ha, 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 ha. And they laugh.
Hmm.
And he says, see, Larry, it's funny. I said, I don't care if it's funny. I'm not going to do it. Okay, okay, go back to your lunch. I go back to my lunch. We're shooting it. We're doing, okay, take one. Blah, 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 blah. This is my girlfriend, and this is, I don't know who is it. I don't remember her name. So, all right, blah, blah, blah. This is blah, blah, blah. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Do that laugh you do. Now, and it's the first take. The camera's rolling. All these people are standing around. And I've been in Second City and the committee, and I'm used to getting suggestions from the audience. Do a bus driver. And he said, do that laugh. And I just did it like that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Reflex.
same. He said, do that. And I went, ah. And he said, see, that's my, okay, boom. And then, we do the rest of the scene, cut, and I go, hey, Adam. And he's with a shit-eating grin on his face. And he says, thank you, Larry. That was really cool. And I go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. And I said, and he says, moving on. And we just, that was it, one take.
No, that's
Because he knew I
hilarious.
wouldn't do it again.
Right.
He,
Right. But
he
they got
knew it.
it. They got it.
But they got it and they put it in, not only that, they put it in a movie. And every podcast I do, if we get to talking about Adam Sandler, they say, hey, do that laugh. I've never done it. I've never done it.
Don't worry, I won't ask you. I won't ask you.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't do it. Okay, listen, it's almost 2 hours. We got to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So we're coming to the end of the podcast,
Okay.
obviously. So just the closing question I have,
Oh, yeah.
is just looking back at your wonderful career, what what are you thankful for? What are um and I guess advice for just other actors looking to take on this journey? What would you give to them?
Oh, well, somebody asked me this question, so I'm ready for the answer because I had time to actually consider it seriously.
Yeah.
So I know the answer
Okay.
because somebody asked me that. What I would say is, for all you young people or even middle-aged people, think about, it's very simple but important. Think about, right, sometime today, think about what you want to be doing when you're 65 or 66. The thing that you really want to do
Hmm.
when you're 65 or 66, and start doing it tomorrow morning. That's
Wow.
it.
I think that's good advice. I mean, because like, I said earlier, you only have one life and it goes very short. And soon 65, 66 will be upon you. And you hope that you put into play, you started on that journey. I think I'm going to take that advice too. I think that's great.
Because, and I'll tell you even where I got it from, all the people who I revere and look up to for being successful in their chosen profession, whatever it is, if you look back at their, uh, what is it called? Your beginning story,
Your origin story. Yep.
your origin story. Bob Dylan did it as soon as he got out of the womb. He was playing guitar on day one
Hmm.
of his birth. All successful people know what they want to do really early,
Hmm.
and they aim for it. Now, I did it magically. I wanted to be Don Quixote when I was 15. Boom, I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm old enough. Boom. But I didn't think about it at all. That's the glitch. That's my fault. Don't you get into it. Just start doing it tomorrow morning. Okay. That's my advice.
I love it. So the way I end every podcast with the guest is we do a very quick 1 minute rapid fire question. So
Okay.
are you ready for that? So I have my timer here, and
Oh,
I'm just gonna we'll play it to 1 minute, and we'll just see how many questions you can answer. They'll be easy questions, but we'll see how many you can do in a minute.
whatever.
Okay, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Uh, what is a book that changed your perspective? And I think I know the one.
Well, okay, well, let's say Don Quixote, but also James,
Oh,
the best-selling book right now.
okay, okay. Most memorable audition?
Seinfeld. I had to
Seinfeld.
audition 5 times.
What is one word to describe your career?
Quirky.
I like that. What is the last show you binge watched?
Um, Mary Mary.
Okay, and then last question, I think, is one actor or actress you would still love to work with that you haven't.
Marlon Brando.
There you go. There you go. See? That was a great great way to end the podcast. And learning so much about Larry Hankin. I just want to thank you so much for taking so much time out of your day just to visit with me and
And
oh,
I have one more
yeah. One
addition to that, which is really weird because I would never think of it. But yeah, really. Um, who's the guy who drew Mona Lisa? Who painted Mona Lisa?
Leonardo uh
Leonardo da Vinci.
Vinci. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Leonardo or Michelangelo, one of those two.
Okay, okay. That's good. That's well-rounded. I like that. Larry Hankin, this has been an absolute pleasure to visit and just to hear your origin story and your your outlook on life. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I really just appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Harrison, right?
Yes, Harrison. Yep.
Harrison. Great name, Harrison. Okay, thank you, Harrison. It was great talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sheckler Spotlight with your host, Harrison Sheckler. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the show with a friend. New conversations drop regularly, so stay tuned. And thanks again for listening and being a part of the journey. Follow Harrison Sheckler on social media and visit harrisonsheckler.com to learn more.